That's
Yes,
the owl.
that's the
right
owl.
there.
Mhm.
Well, isn't that?
Kirk. There we go. Okay. So
Oh, yeah,
call
I
the,
think you'd be ready to start recording her.
We're signed out.
I think we're good. So it's 4:02, calling the meeting to order at 4:02. And we'll start by giving the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
United States of America.
and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we will move on to the consent agenda. That's 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. Payroll for NU Humboldt Charter School, warrants and payroll for NU Siskiyou Charter School. Consideration of the minutes from October 14th board meeting, and consideration of resignations, hires, leaves, and change of assignments. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as posted.
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, I'll start with Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve.
Is that-
Next item on the agenda is public comments that are not on the agenda. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of NU Humboldt Charter School or NU? Yeah,
And Melissa.
Yeah.
No, that seconded
consent agenda.
Sorry, Bianca, Linda's
Okay.
saying we didn't adopt the agenda. We did the pledge and then consent agenda, but I thought we did adopt the agenda.
No, it was the consent agenda.
was the
because she
consent.
named the 2.1, 2.2.
Yeah, I know, but I
But
thought
not
we did
the
adopt the agenda too. Okay.
Okay. So I will go back then to 1.2.
Yeah,
That way.
And
Adoption of the agenda as posted. Is there a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as posted.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All those in favor, starting with Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve of the agenda as posted. Thanks for catching that. Going back to public comments. I'll start from the beginning. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee at NU Humboldt Charter School or NU Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedure to pursue this matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those items are heard. Are there any public comments this evening?
No public here.
Kirk, Melissa, no? Okay then. Moving on to our action items to be considered. The first is 4.1. It's a public hearing, Education Effectiveness Block Grant Plan for NUHTS, and we're opening the public hearing at 4:06.
And I'll go ahead and talk about what this item is. This is a new pot of money that the state has given schools. And in the background sheet, I listed all of the allowable uses for this money. For Humboldt, we're getting $123,061. And essentially it's for usually it's used for professional development. This is actually the second time we've received an educator effectiveness block grant in the state. This is the second grant that's been given to either to just basically to make educators more effective in their instruction. So it can be done, it can be used for professional development. It can be used for teacher induction to clear their credential. Any kinds of things like that. And so schools had to write a plan for how they were going to use this money. And like I said, all of those bullet points are all allowable uses, and they're all different categories. So if you look at the plan itself for Humboldt, the first category is coaching and mentoring of staff. So we allocated money for induction for new teachers and coaching for new administrators. And you can see this money has to be spent by 2026. And so it's a long plan and that we're allocating money for. I don't think I allocated, maybe I did. So that's one area that we put money into. The second category, which is professional development for all subject areas. We didn't put any money in that in this plan. The third area was helping students for accelerated learning or re-engaging them. We put money in there for paying for the horticulture CTE pathway teacher. The fourth category is for social emotional learning and trauma-informed practices. We didn't put any in that category. The fifth category was for positive school climate. So we put some money in that category for professional development for PDIS. Number 6 is for universal design. We didn't put any, which is special education. We didn't put any money for that one. 7 is for EL learners. We didn't put any money in that category. Number 8 is professional learning for creating a professional learning network. We didn't put any money in that one. And then number 9, ethnic studies curriculum adoption. We put money for professional development in that one. In case you don't know, that's going to become a graduation requirement in a couple of years, is an ethnic studies course that's already been approved by the state. So I figured we needed to put some money for professional development for when that curriculum is adopted. And then the last category is early childhood education for the professional development in that area. So I put money in that category. And all of that adds up to the $123,061 that Humboldt is allocated for this money. And so because this is a public hearing, the plan has been on display for anybody who wanted to look at it, and they can give any kind of input to the plan now. And then next month, the board will actually adopt it. This is just an opportunity for the public to comment on it. So if anybody has any comments on the plan, I would love to hear them.
Are there any comments?
I don't have a comment so much as a correction. On the third bullet down, where it starts off practices and strategies that.
Are you talking about in the background sheets or the
Yeah.
plan? The background?
The background
Okay.
sheets. Third bullet down, practices and strategies that, I believe that should be teenage pupils.
That re-engage. No, it's re-engage.
Okay,
That re-engage pupils.
okay. Cross that off. That's it for me.
Rita, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering where we would find it. Would it be in the packet?
It is in the packet, and then also the public hearing notice that went out, like, I don't know, last week or something. I think it said, I don't know if I have it here handy in my packet, but I think it basically said, I think it may be on the website, but Kirk could answer that. But it
Yeah.
is in the packet.
Is it in the revised packet you sent me only? Or was it in the original packet?
It's in the original packet.
'Cause I think there was a revision I didn't get on the website quite yet.
No, it was in the original packet.
Okay.
Any other
Did you
comments?
find it, Rita?
Could you tell me what page in the packet?
Oh, let's see. Does anybody have theirs handy?
I do.
31, I'm already to Siskiyou and it's on page 31. So probably right before 31, maybe
Yeah.
like 28, 27, somewhere like that.
24 is where it starts.
24. Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
sure.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we can close the public hearing at 4:12. Item 4.2, another public hearing. Again, the Education Effectiveness Block Grant. This plan is for NUSCS. We'll open up the public hearing at 4:12.
Okay, and this is the same, except for Siskiyou. Siskiyou is receiving $42,276. And we put money in the first category, which is coaching and mentoring staff. And in category number 5, which is the positive school climate. And then category 9, which is the ethnic study professional development. And number 10, early childhood education. Those are the areas that we put money into in this plan.
Are there any comments and questions for the Siskiyou plan? Okay, seeing none, we can close at 4:13. Moving along to item 4.3, approval of the MOU between NUHCS and NUSCS.
So this was the item that we tabled last month because we needed to add some more people on there. And I think we should probably go ahead and adopt it this month, but we know that there will be more people, more changes to it later, but that's okay. At least we'll have it in place. So you guys remember that this is the situation where Humboldt and Siskiyou both have the same federal tax ID number. So somebody who works for both entities cannot get paid by both entities. They can only get paid by one of them since it's the same tax ID number. And so what we do is one of the schools pays them through their payroll, and then the other school reimburses the school who paid them for their portion of that employee's salary and statutory benefits. So you've already adopted this once at the beginning of the year, but then we've added some additional employees. So that's why we're adopting it again. And like I said, I know that we'll end up adopting it again later because more people will be added.
Thank you, Sherry. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the MOU between Northern United Humboldt Charter School and Northern United Siskiyou Charter School.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will take a vote. Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve of the MOU between NUHCS and NUSCS. Item 4.4, approval of the independent study policy. It's been revised. Sharon?
Yes, so this, you actually adopted this in August, the independent study policy, and we had to update it then because AB 130 passed, and that required us to add more things to our independent study policy that weren't currently in there. So that's why you adopted it in August. And then since then, AB 167 has passed, which had some additional requirements for things that are in your independent study policy. So those additional items have been added to this, to the first one in your packet. That second one in the packet was the one that you approved in August. I put them both in there so you could compare them to see what was added.
Mhm. Thank you for that. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised independent study policy.
I second.
So moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments about the independent study policy?
I was just going to add one last thing. At the very top of the independent study policy, you'll see that we added like the adoption dates from the past times, but we forgot to add the one from August. So just so you know, in our master version, Linda's already added that. We just left that one off. So I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up on that, but that's all.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve. Item 4.5, approval of the transportation safety plan policy, which has also been revised.
Correct. So this is a policy that we already had prior to our legal counsel's review of all of our policies this summer. It was a policy we already had. But for some reason, when the attorneys reviewed our policies this summer and then got them back to us, they missed that one. So that's why that one was not included in like the student policy handbook that you saw last month, the first reading, because they didn't include that one for some reason. And so they did it separately because I pointed it out that, you know, the transportation safety policy isn't in here. And so they did it separately. So that's why this one is being done kind of as a standalone, not with the previous, like it wasn't with last month's first reading. But it will be added to the student policy handbook. It's just, it wasn't included in the first reading. So that's why I have it kind of as a standalone right here.
And it is already in the student handbook. That's the next item.
Yeah, it's been added in there.
Yeah.
In anticipation of it being adopted.
Thank you.
But I did include the original one we had. And then this one.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the transportation safety plan policy revised. Sounds
I second.
backwards.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the transportation policy? Seeing none, we'll vote. Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve. Motion passes. 4.6, approval of the student policy handbook, and this is the second reading.
Right, and so this handbook that you have before you now is complete with the independent study policy and the transportation policy that you just approved. Those were actually included in here as well. But there is one other thing that I would like to do. You've had the first reading of this, and so this one is an action item, but there is a policy in there that I am going to recommend that we actually remove. So if we adopt this, I want to adopt it without one particular policy. And what it is it's the missed assignment policy. And let me give you a little bit of background on this. So in the past, we had the missed assignment policy, and you probably remember us developing it because I actually think we had Lisa Core come into a meeting and explain it to us one time. But it's about when students miss a certain number of assignments, then it starts this process where we have meetings with the family to try to get them back on track. And after, you know, multiple attempts, if they don't get back on track, then we're allowed to drop them from our school. And they are allowed to request a hearing for that not to happen. They get like due process. So that was all in the missed assignment policy. And the reason, in my opinion, we had to have a missed assignment policy is because there wasn't another policy that spelled out what would create a student being dropped from our school. Well, then when AB 130 passed, like I said a minute ago, they added a bunch of things that needed to be in your independent study policy. And one of the things they added is this process, like how many missed assignments would be allowable with, you know, in independent study before a student can be dropped. And they also included in there the whole piece about like the parent having due process to request a hearing, if in fact, you know, they got to that point and got dropped. And so now that that is included in the independent study policy, I don't think we need a missed assignment policy. But that's my opinion. You guys may still want that. It doesn't hurt us to have it. But what I will say is, okay, you know how I said we adopted the independent study policy in August based on AB 130. Right. And so it was updated. When it was updated, this missed assignment policy that's in this handbook was also updated to match that. Then AB 167 passed and we just adopted this new independent study policy with the AB 160 stuff in it. This missed assignment policy does not match that new one that was just adopted. So if we keep it, it needs to be updated to match this independent study policy. So right now, if we adopt this handbook as a whole with this missed assignment policy in there, we're going to have conflicting information because the independent study policy we just adopted said that it's this whole process is triggered if a student misses 60% of their work in a 20-day period. The missed assignment policy that's in there says 60% of their work in a week policy. I mean, in a week time period, because that's what AB 130 said, but AB 167 changed it to a 20-day period, not a week. So long story short, I feel like we should adopt this handbook without the missed assignment policy. Whether or not we want to have the missed assignment policy updated to match our current independent study policy is up to you, but I don't even think that we're going to need it now that all that information is in the independent study policy.
Right.
That was very, very confusing. I'm sorry. That was a lot of convoluted stuff, but.
You dummied it down for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think you did a wonderful job. You know, I'm hearing that essentially these will be conflicting and we'd have to go back and edit it at this moment in order to keep it in there.
Right.
Are there any comments from my fellow board members?
Looking through it right now, it does seem kind of redundant to have missed assignments when it does already say in this independent study that 60% that you're saying. So I would be okay with adopting it without the missed assignment policy.
I agree.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the student policy handbook with the omission of missed assignments. And I would also like to add approval with the necessary ongoing formatting of that handbook, which was also a mouthful.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the student policy handbook with the omission of the missed assignment policy and to continue to format the handbook. Are there any other comments or questions before we vote? Well, Sherry, thank you for being on top of that and for noticing. I most certainly, it didn't strike me. So kudos to you.
Well, because they matched up until the moment we just approved this last independent study policy, you know, so that's,
yep.
And that's the other thing I'm afraid of. If we have two policies that are talking about the same thing and we update one, are we going to forget that those are related and not update the other one and then have conflicting information later on.
We would until somebody
Right.
brought it to our attention.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why I'd almost rather just get rid of it, you know, and not have one.
Yes.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we will vote. Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and I also approve to pass the student policy handbook without the misassignment policy. 4.7, approval of the unaudited actuals for NUSCS. And Sherry, I believe this was sent later.
It was not in the original packet. It was sent, I think, I want to say maybe Friday evening or something is when I sent it. This, just so you guys remember, the unaudited actuals, this is last year's budget. And what happens is now that that year is over, the county office reviews everything, all of our revenue and all of our expenditure from last year and kind of cleans everything up, goes through and notices any changes, like any incorrect things and just cleans it all up. And but it has not yet been audited. That's why it's the unaudited actuals. So this is what our auditor will look at now, and they'll do kind of the same thing that the county office did. The auditor will go through and review it and compare it to all kinds of other information. And the auditor may also find some things that need to be corrected. And that will come out in our audit report. But so right now it's the unaudited actuals. And it requires approval by the board.
Thank you, Sherry. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the unaudited actuals for NU Siskiyou.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I was just kind of wondering though, what is it that we should be looking for in this? Like looking at maybe just for like typos and things like that, or because
That's a really good question, Melissa. I mean, I think that it's more informational for you. It is because that year is over, that fiscal year is over. So it's not like you could make any decisions about how money is spent or anything because that already happened. So this is more just information for you to see how the money was spent last year, how much money we received, what areas it was spent in. Like I said, I mean, it's really just information. It's not really anything that you would do with it right now.
okay,
Other
thank you.
than like if you see things in it that you feel like, I don't know, if you have questions, you could ask, or also if you see things in there that you think like, wow, we're spending a whole lot in this area or not much in this area, we could talk about it because we could make changes for this year now, because this year is happening. And so we could allocate resources differently if the board felt like things that, you know, we spent last year were, I don't know, if something they wanted to change something.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, Melissa.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
a really good
definitely
question.
when I first started, it was the same. I felt the same. And I think that that's actually the time where I was asking, well, why is this percentage? Why are we spending this much on books? And, you know, then being able, as Sherry said, take it to the future because it's already done. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, starting with Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
I also approve of the unaudited actuals for NUSCS. So we will move on to discussion items, and there are none this month. So moving on to reports, item 6.1. Oh,
You forgot 4.8.
oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for catching me.
Poor baby.
I'm-
You're a trooper, Bianca.
Thank you. I'm glad we're a good team. Excuse me, 4.8, Resolution S2022-2, resolution for the Siskiyou County Office of Education to transfer funds within NUSCS's account.
Okay, and so you guys see this, usually you see it now, you usually see it, I think at first interim and second interim. And just as a reminder, because Siskiyou County Office of Ed is the one that creates our budget, they don't like to move money around within our account without our permission, basically. And so they ask for the board to adopt a resolution allowing for any transfers that need to happen. So these transfers that are included with this resolution are the corrections that they saw needed to be done based on the unaudited actuals. So when they reviewed, is that right, Tammy? Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying that right. So when they reviewed last year's budget, they saw a couple corrections that they needed to make. And so they're basically asking permission, is it okay if they make these corrections? And they've included what these are here. They may not mean a lot to you. Tammy may be able to tell us from the budget string what the changes were.
I know that two were to do with payroll.
Yeah.
Last year they were coded wrong, so they had to throw into that to come out of the right codes.
Right. One person was coded having been in STRS, but they were really in PERS.
Okay.
So that was a different budget.
Coded on old special ed function for goals, which it was gone, and so then they changed that, switched that over to the right function.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
I have none.
Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the resolution S 2022-2, resolution for Siskiyou County Office of Education to transfer funds within Northern United Siskiyou Charter Schools account.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any further questions or comments before we vote? Seeing none. Rosemary,
Aye.
Melissa? And I also approve.
And Bianca, I'm gonna scan it and email it to you so that you can sign it. Because this one requires the clerk's signature.
Got
So
it.
I'll scan it and send it to you.
Okay, perfect. There are no discussion items this month, so we'll move on to reports. 6.1, the enrollment and attendance report, which is in your packet. Sherry, is there anything?
Nothing to add to it, nope.
Okay. 6.2, I'll back up. Are there any questions and comments on the enrollment or attendance report?
No, we're holding strong.
Indeed. 6.2, the financial report. Also in your packet, Sherry? Is there anything
Nothing to add, just in case anybody had any questions, just as a reminder, this is just our financials from this past month, from October. And so it just shows all of the expenditures that happened during the month in both Humboldt and Siskiyou.
Any questions or comments on the financial report? Okay, 6.3, director's report. Sherry?
I just wanted to give a quick update on our facilities situation. So you guys remember we've been looking at this facility on Myers Avenue for Eureka Learning Center. And I've been working with the property manager person there. And we've been kind of going back and forth trying to negotiate a move-in date. Or possession date, I should say. We'll move in whenever we want to move in, but the time we're going to take possession of it. They really would like a January 1st possession date, and I requested a February 1st possession date, and I think that we've agreed to split in the middle. So they will prorate the January rent, and we would take possession like January 15th or so. She also sent a proposal for some additional work that she thinks we might want to have done. So you guys remember, we're going to have new floor put in and paint. The new floor is approximately 36,000 or so, and the paint is like 4,300. They're going to pay 30,000 toward that, and we would pay the additional. So right now we're going to be paying approximately $10,000 or so toward that. The additional work that she's given us quotes on, that it's up to us if we want to do it or not, is they've gotten a quote for refinishing the doors and cabinets for $1,800, new bathroom partitions like in the stalls for $3,632, and new kitchen and bathroom accessories for like $2,400. All those three additional options we would have to pay for. I am leaning towards saying no, thank you. We will be fine with the doors and cabinets not being refinished and not getting new partitions, but keeping the ones that were there, and no new kitchen and bathroom accessories. Because if we did add on all of those things to our portion of the floor and paint, then we would be paying $20,000, 20,093.60 to be exact, toward the upgrades there. And I would prefer not to. But that's, you know, I would love input on that. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
My comment is, did she get any estimates other than from her own father on that?
In terms of those extra things,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who she got the quotes for those additional things.
Yeah.
I think those will be their own people, would be my guess. The flooring is Eureka floor.
Right.
And the painting, I'm not sure who the painter is, because I didn't actually get, like that might be their own. It's whoever they hire to do painting for all of their buildings.
Got it. How, refresh my memory,
Mhm.
how rough were those cabinets and whatnot?
You know, I don't remember any cabinets really in the bathrooms, but I remember the kitchen being pretty rough. But one of the next items I was going to talk about in my report is some additional upcoming funding that we're getting. And one of them is specifically for kitchen infrastructure upgrades.
Oh,
And we get the money no matter what, whether we have a kitchen to use it on or not. And if we don't use it, we have to send it back to the state. So if we were going to upgrade that kitchen, I would rather do it with these
with
monies
those funds.
that are not, you know, that we
Ours.
don't have yet,
Yeah.
but we are going to get.
Yeah, I totally
And
agree
so
with that.
that's part of it. Now, I don't know if you remember, but in each of the rooms, there was pretty much all of the rooms that would be like classrooms. There was a sink and some cabinets.
Right.
I mean, they probably have been painted 1,000,000 times. The doors probably don't close very well, but I didn't see anything that was broken.
Right, or
holes or
in them.
anything like that. So I feel like if we get in there and it turns out that that stuff needs to be done, we're going to be paying for it anyway. It's no different than having it done now versus later.
Exactly, exactly.
So I just feel like the only thing I still am wondering about is the bathroom partitions. She had told me, I don't remember if it was on the phone or in an email, that when they had that maybe when they had the floor estimates done, they realized that the partitions needed to be redone as well.
Maybe so, maybe they're
And so
rusty or
maybe,
something. Yeah,
but
yeah.
again, those will be there when we leave. Those aren't really improvements we should be making.
Right.
And so the
right.
only thing the one thing I do want to clarify with her on the partitions is their plan, if the option is to replace them, if we say no, does that mean there's not going to be partitions there? Are they taking out the old ones and not putting the old ones back in?
Very good question.
So that's my only,
Yes.
clarification with her on that. But anyway, so that's kind of the latest there.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody has anything else on that. I'll keep moving on if not.
I have one question.
Okay.
Where they wanted January 1 and you wanted February 1st, why do you want February 1st?
Because we wouldn't be moving in January anyway, be sitting there empty, we'd be paying for it. And
Okay.
that has been her rationale for us getting in there. They don't want it empty anymore. And I keep telling her it's gonna be empty anyway.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you know how their current, the person who has been the tenant,
Yes,
HCOT,
yes.
they're still
They're
paying.
paying.
So they're not gonna be without rent in January, no matter what.
Right.
And I said that to her and she said, yeah, but we don't want it empty. And I said, we're not moving in January.
Right,
Because there's not a school break or holiday.
Mhm.
Like we need a break so that we can move science lab equipment during like a school break.
right,
And that's not gonna happen until President's Week.
right.
And so even if we take possession February 1st, we're still not gonna move in until like the second or third week or whatever of February.
Yeah,
And so anyway, but she keeps, saying, well, that's a long time from now. We don't want to hold it. I will say I'm okay with that mid-January because to be honest, I don't know that it's going to happen anyway. She has, when I got the quote for the floor, the one that they're going with, the people wrote right on the quote that they weren't even booking out until January. And so I just wonder if they're even going to have it ready then anyway. But anyway, I would agree to the mid-January, assuming they get it done.
right. Because if they're not
Right.
finished with this
We're
work,
not going to pay.
No.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So Bianca or Melissa, did you guys have any input on that?
Melissa, go ahead.
I agree that with the work being done, that it's going to be out of our own pocket. So we should actually assess the situation and decide how best to tackle fixes that need to be done. And I guess on our own dime with our own choice of contracting and et cetera. I think that the bathroom partitions, that's a good question about, are they going to remove them and not put them back? I guess if they're unsafe, I feel like that really shouldn't be on us to replace them, but I understand that we have to do what we have to do. So I guess I would just say if we could ask them to put them back in to make sure that they're not leaving us without them.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that there will be funding for the potential kitchen, renovation. That's nice.
Right.
So those are my only thoughts.
Thank you.
have they addressed the rotten awning?
What?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
What was that question, Rosemary?
There's an awning over a side door that leads to a patio area that's very rotten. And
Is it fabric? Is it a fabric?
it looks like it's a fabric.
Yeah, like canvas, like.
Yes, something like that. It's probably original. And I was just wondering if they have addressed that and if it was going to be replaced as is over that door or extended out and beyond that.
Got it. I agree with everything that's been said. I don't think that we should take the offer, as it will, if you want to call it an offer, of them doing the work that we'd be paying for. We don't own it, so we're not building equity. We can't take it with us. And like you said, Sherry, we can always elect to do upgrades later, right? We can't go the other way. But I do look forward to hearing about the partitions.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're on the right track.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate that input. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is we have some, you saw tonight with the public hearing that Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. Those were additional funds that schools are getting this year. I guess because of COVID. I mean, I don't know that those are really that related to COVID, but there are quite a few more that you're going to be seeing. So one is an A through G completion improvement grant, and that will be funding that is specifically to help us increase our number of high school students who are meeting the requirements set forth by CSUs and NUCS. And then there's going to be and that does require a plan. So you'll see a plan for that in a few months. And then some additional funding for the pre-kindergarten planning and implementation grant. So part of the state budget included a lot of funding for like universal 4-year-old preschool. And so schools are getting money to implement that. And there will be a plan associated with that too, which is why in that Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, I put money into that early childhood education, professional development for our teachers. And then the other additional funding that I mentioned is that kitchen infrastructure upgrade. And there's no plan associated with that. We don't have to write a plan for that one, but it is an additional pot of money that all schools will be getting. So it's exciting to have, it seems like with schools, it's always feast or famine.
Yes.
And right now it's absolutely feast when it comes to the funds. It's like the state is just printing money and sending it to the schools. The downside is that it is coinciding with a major staffing shortage. So it's really easy for these plans for us to come up with these new programs, but then there's nobody to hire to implement the programs. So that's been a big concern for all of the schools that, we've all been kind of talking about this, like, that's great, that we're going to have this money, but there's nobody to hire to do this. And so anyway, so that was another thing I wanted to talk about. And then the last thing I was or two more things. One is WASC, just to give you an update. The Humboldt WASC visit is February 14th through the 16th. And Siskiou's is March 14th through the 16th. That's different than what I had said. It's a week later. They contacted us and asked if we could do it a week later. So Siskiyou is March 14th through the 16th. For Siskiyou, the visiting team has been set. There are 2 members. The chair is a Liz Oberator, and she actually is the senior director of WASC. And it's going to be a virtual visit. So she and the other visiting member are not going to actually be there in person. They're going to be doing it through Zoom, and it's for 2 days. And then Humboldt, there are 3 members as of now, and the chair is Julia Knight, and she's the director of a charter school who actually was on our visiting committee once before, and now she's going to be the chair. So that's nice. She's the director of a non-classroom based charter school like ours. So she's very familiar with our kind of school. Plus she's familiar with our schools in general.
Is she the gal that at the end of the visit last year said that she had a new outlook towards charter schools?
No, because this is one who's a director of a charter school. That was one who had worked at a traditional district and didn't know anything about charters. Yeah. And then my final update is just LCAP. I just wanted to let you know that it is definitely LCAP season is gearing up. So we have started gathering community feedback. Surveys have been sent out. And, every month I like to, as often as I can, have the board meeting be an opportunity for people to give feedback on the LCAP if they so desire. And then I also wanted to update you that this year, there's going to be a one-time supplement to the annual update. That's being required this year because the state is wanting us to, and federal government is wanting us to include in our LCAP all of this new additional COVID money funding that we've been getting. When we wrote our LCAP last year, that wasn't included in our LCAP. And so they're wanting us to include that money in our LCAP now. So we have to do a supplement. And so a presentation on that supplement will be given at the February board meeting. And that's all I have.
You have two more, the last one we discussed.
Oh, thank you.
And,
Thank you. I have a whole bunch of notes here that I didn't even read.
And shirts.
Yeah, okay. So the other thing I just wanted to say, and I meant to say this first, I'm sorry. You guys all received the resignation letter from our board member, our previous board member, Jeff Lamphere. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that in our meeting. And we are certainly sorry to see him go. And then the other thing I wanted to say is we are doing a both school-wide shirt sale. Northern United Humboldt Charter School and Northern United Siskiyou Charter School sale shirts are for sale for students and parents and staff who would like to purchase one. And that's all.
And I have a question about the Eureka February, did you say February 14th through the 16th?
The Humboldt,
The Humboldt?
Siskiyou, I mean, the
Yes.
Humboldt WASP,
Yes.
yes, February 14th through 16th.
Is that not President's Week?
President's Week's the next week.
The
this year.
following
Mhm.
week,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
And I did want to say one last thing. I'm sorry, I keep remembering more things. Because this has been so far a somewhat challenging year for staff in that there are so many more like COVID protocols and things because of being in person. And, there's just so much going on and, not as enough staff to do it all.
Right.
People are stretched pretty thin. So we've been trying to do things every month to show appreciation to staff. So I just wanted to give you kind of an example. So last month, the counseling staff delivered goodie bags just of candy to everybody.
Oh.
We've ordered, and we included lanyards in those. We have ordered totes and masks that have our school logo on them.
Really?
Those are here, and so those are going to be delivered to staff. And then the other big thing is
Yes.
this next month, we are providing one day at each learning center, we're providing lunch for our staff.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to let you know that we're, trying to let people know how much we appreciate what they're doing and all the extra work that people are putting in right now.
A little bit goes a long way.
I hope so.
Oh,
I hope
yeah,
so.
it
I mean,
does.
it's not anything of what I wish we could do.
But it's something. Yes. Are the masks also for sale?
No, we're just going to give those away. But it's not a gift of public funds or anything.
I didn't think it was. Now, does that include the 4 board members?
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get those to you.
That mask really makes her have a big poker face.
Yeah,
It
we'll
does.
get those out to board members too.
On behalf of the entire board, we thank you.
And in fact, Melissa, did you get a school lanyard?
I did.
Okay,
Good.
okay, good, good. Well, we'll get masks to everybody.
Awesome. Is the Humboldt visit from WASC, is that also via Zoom, Sherry?
It is. It is. They're both virtual.
They're both virtual, okay. Do we, I know that we were present during our last WASC meeting 3
There
years.
there will be a time for the board to Zoom in for sure. And
Okay,
that's the interesting thing about this being, virtual is they're going to be like zooming in to different learning centers at different times. And it'll be scheduled for like parents and students to Zoom in at the same time and board members and, different staff. Like there will be like basically a Zoom meeting schedule of different times and different people to Zoom in at these different times.
okay. And I'm sure we'll get that scheduled.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for all those updates. Anything else?
That's enough.
Were there any other questions or comments for the director's report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 6.4, Northern United Humboldt Charter School report. There's some background information there, including some awesome photos. Is there any additional?
Nothing to add.
Comments or questions about the Humboldt report?
No.
Moving on then to 6.5 Northern United Siskiyou Charter School report. Again, background information in your packet. Is there anything additional to add to the report?
No,
I mean,
No.
Okay.
Enjoyable reading, both of them, as always.
Definitely. Well, definitely. Melissa, do you have any questions or comments?
Not really. I do enjoy the format where each of the main teachers kind of gave their input and let us know what was going on with them. I like that. So.
I'll try to include some photos next time. I know you guys like to see photos.
Yeah, definitely. Brings it all together. Brings it all together. 6.6 board report. Rosemary.
I have nothing.
Okay. Melissa?
Not really. I don't have anything to report. I just had kind of the thought, I went to a meeting in Wairika where some doctors and nurses and attorneys talked about the new COVID mandates and loss of staff at a lot of like hospital facilities and stuff. And I kind of was wondering how that might affect us, and just to kind of throw it out there, like, I hope we don't lose staff. So that's really all for me.
I agree, Melissa. I totally agree. I hope we don't lose staff. And it is a big concern with all of the schools that we're really worried we'll lose staff. And, you know, the traditional site-based districts are really worried, of course, they'll lose students as well. That at least is not as much of a concern for us, since independent study charter schools are able to take students who aren't vaccinated right now for the regular childhood vaccines. And I'm assuming that will be the same for COVID vaccine as well. You know, obviously those students just aren't allowed to attend any of our facilities, you know, be around any other students, but we can still enroll them and they can do home-based independent study. But that's not even an option for the site-based schools. And so, you know, most of the schools are worried about losing students too, but I'm definitely worried about losing staff.
Do we know if we have, what our number of staff is? Is it above 100?
Oh, no, we're not above 100.
Okay,
So that mandate doesn't affect us yet. The mandate that's going to affect us will start in July.
Okay. And do those called the, oh, I can't think of the word, exemptions. Do those go through our schools, or do we have to file them? Do they have to file them through the state? Do we know anything like that? Just so we know how to support our staff when it comes to it, like preparation for those who might
Right.
need it.
As of right now, there aren't going to be exemptions other than medical. And that's something that I know people are really kind of petitioning the state to allow for personal exemption and religious exemptions as well. But right now, when the way that it works for like the regular childhood vaccinations that happen that are already currently mandates, those are filed, they're given to us, but then we have to report them into a state database. And the state may not approve them based on how many have been written by that particular doctor. And then they, you know, they kind of go after the doctor if it's a doctor who's writing a lot of those. So I don't know if it'll be the same with COVID or not.
Okay, well,
That's
thank
for
you.
students. I don't know for adults what will happen.
Thanks, Melissa. Certainly losing staff due to mandates that we don't have control over is a concern. We'll see how that plays out come July. I don't have anything to report either. I am sorry that I missed last month's meeting very suddenly. I would have much rather been with y'all than cleaning a puppy, a giant puppy that was sprayed by a skunk. And thank you for putting up with my dullness this evening as well. That brings us to items 7 regarding the next board meeting. 7.1 is possible agenda items.
The only thing off the top of my head that I can think of right now is that the educator effectiveness plans that we have the public hearing for tonight, those will be adopted next month. So I'm sure, oh, I know, December is the organizational meeting.
Right.
And so that's the one where we do, pick our calendar for the year. And also it's the meeting where we select new officers. So a new chair and vice chair. And so it is possible that Jerry will be back next month. He even said he would come tonight if need be.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, he did. He
Oh,
sent me that.
man.
Yeah, he said, if I have to, I could do tonight. And so he was kind of, on the fence with that. So he may be back next month. So I'm hopeful that, everyone will be able to be here for that. Bianca, I know we had talked about maybe postponing that.
Yeah.
And
The
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and so we'll plan on doing that next month, but if we're unable to, that's fine. We can adjust it, at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Maybe LCAP?
Admin policies.
Oh, okay. Linda just reminded me we'll also have first reading on the administrative policies. So we've done the student, the employee, and then we still have to do the administrative one that's kind of just more general school stuff, the running of the school that doesn't really apply to employees or students. First reading of those next month.
Got it.
Shouldn't we wait until January? Why should we do that during the holidays?
I almost have them halfway done.
Good girl.
And if you see it not, or you don't see it on the agenda, you'll know why.
Take your time.
Are there any other possible agenda items? Okay. 7.2, next board meeting date, December 9th. Cool. That's a typical day for us, right?
Yeah, that's actually a Thursday, back to our normal that's the second Thursday of the month.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. So we're going to adjourn the meeting. It is 5:04.
Thank you, Bianca. Good job. Now go to sleep.